Good morning and welcome back to Morning Express. We're glad you're with us on this Monday, the 20th day of July 2015. It is time for The Way It Is, but before we get to that, President Uhuru Kenyatta is due to officially open the 9th Stop Breast, Cervical and Prostate Cancer in Africa conference today. First Lady Margaret Kenyatta will host this three-day conference at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Now, 30 First Ladies from Africa under the umbrella First Ladies Against Breast, Cervical and prostate cancer already in the country to attend the event, opening its doors today, as I mentioned there. So the theme for this year's conference is Investing to Save Lives, the role of public-private sector partnerships. The conference is aimed at raising awareness and providing opportunities for advocacy for what is the most important subject amongst all walks of life. The conference also, participants will share lessons learned as well as mobilize both corporate and political resources and goodwill as part of the quest to get governments and the private sector to partner in ensuring early detection and treatment of cancer. The conference is aligned to the First Lady's endeavor to promote the well-being of Kenyans and the world in general through enhancing affordable health services to all Kenyans. And as part of the activities that we'll see around the conference in the next 3 days is that the Office of the First Lady has set up a free cancer screening area at the KICC, which will be open to the public every day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. till the 21st of July 2015. Kenya, of course, was nominated to host this event when it was last held in Namibia last year. And that is why my co-host Michael Gitonga is not in studio with me today, because he's at the KICC and we'll be linking up with him in the next hour. He'll be having an interview with a lead oncologist in the country to break down this particular topic for us and what to expect in the next 3 days. So we will also be covering that event live for you, so do stay with KTN News. But to The Way It Is this morning, discussing the big stories we have been covering for you. Joining us in studio is Ambrose Weda, who's a lawyer, and my immediate left. Also with us is Peter Kaluma, who is a member of Parliament, Homa Bay Town. Gojiri Wabogo is a political analyst, and also with us is Senator Mombasa County, Hassan Omar. Good morning. All, and thank you for joining us. So Ramadan came to an end, celebrations over the weekend. How was that?
It was good. I think we went very, very well. We had a good Eid festivity.
Yeah.
And as I said during the Eid prayers, there were those who prayed on Friday, there were those who prayed on Saturday. And these are not fundamental areas of departure in terms of articles of faith. These are jurisprudential issues that rest on interpretation. There are those Muslims who believe that when the moon is sighted anywhere in the world, it will suffice that you can break your fast. There are those who believe that the interpretation is that you should sight the moon yourself within your own geographical locality. So I think it's not a major point of departure. So it is. I don't think we are disunited on account of moon sighting. And I think I wish all Muslims, those who fasted, may Allah accept our fast. We had a fruitful Eid, and there's something called Sita. 6 days of the following month, the month of Shawwal.
Okay.
So that there are those who fast an extra 6 days, and it's as much as it's sunnah, it's not mandatory. It is advisable.
So will you be fasting?
Yes, definitely. I usually fast. I stagger mine.
Okay.
You know, you can fast them in a row, provided you do it within the month of Shawwal.
Okay.
It's called month of Shawwal. Or you can decide to fast one, then procrastinate another 2-3 days. So therefore, that is, though others believe the momentum for fasting them flat out 6 days, it's far easier, because you're coming from a momentum of Ramadan.
All right. Well, let's get to one of the biggest stories. The country is on Obama mania now. It's just 3 days to go until the President of the United States of America arrives into the country. He will be co-hosting, of course, the Global Entrepreneurship Summit alongside President Uhuru Kenyatta. Let's get to some of the issues that are emerging from this. Opposition, the headline the other day in one of the dailies was that Raila is set to hold talks with Obama. Civil society, we've seen them write, a number of issues they'd want to see Obama address. So let's begin with those, and I'll start with you, Kaluma. What we are hearing opposition say this is what they intend to talk to Obama about, civil society. Is this the direction, we should be taking? Because also I read a couple of editorials yesterday, and there seems to be a feeling that Kenya should not be airing her dirty linen. We should take this opportunity to, put the best foot forward and, let Obama talk about what Obama will say. It's not what, the leaders will talk to him about that will dictate any other thing that he does or says.
We certainly don't seek from any side, whether in government or opposition, to dictate Obama what he will speak about. I know in deciding to come to Kenya, he had an agenda. And of course, from what we are told and what we know, it is matters entrepreneurship. But you know, matters entrepreneurship is very wide. How do you register businesses? What is the environment for them? So issues of good governance, of necessity, will have to come in. And that is why we are saying, looking at that whole topic, you know, in totality, there is no way, you know, we can avoid talking about corruption and how it undermines entrepreneurship. There is no way we can, you know, avoid talking about the matter security. You know, the tourism sector, particularly in the coast and the areas we are dealing with. In fact, we've been going to hotels in the coast. Hassan will tell you at his own good time. So sometimes I really think it is government officials, you know, sustaining the hotels in the coast. A large percentage of our people who are working, you know, full-time are now casuals. You go to major hotels like Sarova, Serena. It's a tricky situation. And that is something, you know, to do with security. So really, if you are going to talk about investment or entrepreneurship in the area of the tourism sector, security, and of course, all sectors. But most importantly, there are issues of, you know, too much looting, too much exclusion in government. You know what I mean? How do we have a situation in which Kenya remains as divided along tribal lines as it was when Obama was in 2006.
Okay, granted those are issues in the country. However, those who argue, so you tell him this, so what?
What
does he then...
We are certainly not telling him. What we are saying is that for a leader, you know, coming into a country, that is his origin. And any leader in the world, for that matter, there are issues which are pertinent to that society you are going to speak to. And they are not just pertinent, but they are tied to the topic you are going to speak about. And you want a holistic, you know,
what you mentioned is not holistic. What you mentioned is on one end.
There is not one end. In fact, I'm saying, how do we encourage? We don't want Obama to come and say, we are giving you money.
Okay.
You remember a short while ago, we had this thing called the Euro bond. I remember we raised, Ombugu will tell you later on, for 200 billion. I mean, questions of where such monies are issues which must be talked about. When you're talking about, you know, people coming who can do business large scale, how long does it take to register business? And if it is because some government bureaucrat is seated somewhere idling, simply because he's waiting for some tip, should we not be talking about that? So it's a very holistic thing around that thing.
Ngunjiri, you agree?
I think we will have to give the opposition ground. They will air dirty linen in public. I mean, it's just what they do. So I don't think we should be caught by surprise when they do that. In a column today, I was making fun and saying the way we are behaving, or part of a society is behaving, is like you have a rich uncle coming to visit, and so all of you, so you've got the children making a list of all the things, all the bad things Dad has been doing. So when they come, they tell him, Dad has done, Dad has done, Dad has done, hoping that he's going to tell Dad to behave. And the question you asked is actually very pertinent. And then, you see, the kind of activity we are seeing with Obama is not the kind of activity we see with any other president coming. So, of course, there is that feeling that we are going to tell him to do this, and then he's going to tell Uhuru, security, corruption. A lot of the things that we're going to be talking about, a lot of the things that Kaluma has raised, are things that they can actually raise even when he's not here. You know, so they will air dirty linen in public. I mean, that for sure is going to happen.
Yeah. How do you look at it, Hassan?
You know, it's derogatory to say we're airing dirty linen in public. There's one thing called judicial fact, judicial notice. Whether we tell Obama, whether we don't, corruption does exist, ethnicity does exist. Whether we speak around it during the time that Obama is here, he receives intelligence reports. He receives cables that tell him what is going on in Kenya. So whether you reiterate it or not is neither here nor there. And I am also one of those who never gets necessarily excited about US presidents, because their policies are cliche. They will never make us better off. For me, if I got an opportunity, and I've told the court coalition that one of the things they should list are policies that directly affect us. Their tacit support for counterterrorism measures that have created wanton, you know, destruction of our security infrastructure, in the sense that today there is reckless, violations of certain sections of the community. Those are as a direct consequence of some of the very right-wing strategies that they have. But matters, Obama will come, will leave. For me, the only benefit, the road from town to my house is tarmacked. And there are walkways, you know, there are pedestrian walkways that have been created.
At least there's
So, on that score, it was recarpeted, it's the most idiotic thing to think that you need to recarpet a road because Obama is coming. I hope but it's a benefit because that infrastructure will stay.
But you're enjoying it, then again it's idiotic.
Much in the same way when you host a World Cup, like in South Africa. They built enormous infrastructure, you know, railway systems, trams. They did a lot of things. So it then benefits the society well after the guest is gone. So I think that's what maybe there's a benefit.
You're excited about.
But as I said, finally, international relations lately are not only a matter of economics. International relations extend to our software of international relations, which is our common values. And therefore, I have said severally in the Senate that we need to, you know, tell our younger brothers and sisters within the region, like Burundi, when they go wrong, so that Kenya becomes an exporter of moral, you know, diplomacy, certain value system that must inform the society in its totality. So I think there are those kinds of commonalities that one wants to interact with Obama to just ensure that we have common grounding moving forward.
Whether, for those who say in Jubilee that CORD in raising all of these issues and now are just trying to, you know, draw attention to themselves, do you agree? And also, whether at this particular time opposition and everybody else should be singing and portraying Kenya as this very beautiful, amazing place to be, and these other issues can be left for politicking after the visitor has left?
I think the opposition, although CORD leader Raila Odinga said he will not be airing in a dirty linen, but I think the opposition are perfectly entitled to tell Obama anything they want to tell him, because they may not have much apart from mudslinging and all these things. If we could understand that Obama is an American president pursuing robustly the American interest. He only comes here because he promised during his election that he would come to Kenya. He also comes here because his father purportedly came here from here.
Purportedly.
You don't know.
He said it. It is known. We know.
Let me finish. Please, let me finish. We are looking for heroes. And when Obama comes, I think for us the only benefit is that is giving Kenya an international focus. The whole world is looking at Kenya and saying hallelujah. What we are asking for of Obama, if he comes here, is to help us with money to fight terrorists, because we have suffered. Our relationship with America has cost us the price of terrorism. The way they bear it is the way we bear it, because we were together.
Okay.
You get it? So we need that kind of support. But as Mo used to say, the future and the growth of this country is in our hands. Obama will come here, dance around, give us very eloquent speeches, and he will go back. If he leaves us with some dollars that we can invest in security apparatus and security system, we'll say hallelujah. But if you tell him corruption, this and that, but I also want to assure him,
money without accountability.
Oh yes, and also assure him that if he talks about men marrying men, we will roundly condemn him.
Absolutely.
All right, let me bring this to
this issue. Let's be sincere. Obama might not be Kenyan, but Obama is definitely of Luo blood. He comes from
our blood.
Yes,
so there's no two way about that. You can't deny that fact. It's not purported, it's real.
Mutua opined that Barack Obama should not even as much as shake the deputy president's hand when he visits, saying that he should steer clear of him, of course owing to the charges of crimes against humanity, and also those that are facing corruption charges. You agree?
Of course not. I mean, the kind of people American presidents hang out with, the kind of things they do, the kind of things America does, doesn't give them a moral standing to start judging other people.
But didn't he stay away for this long because of the ICC, and he made that clear when he was in South Africa?
Most probably he did.
Yeah.
Most probably he did. But the fact that he's coming here, you know, again, this thing of America believing that when they go to Rome, they must make Romans behave like Americans needs to stop. He's coming here. Kenyans elected Uhuru and Ruto as president and deputy president. That's a fact that it's not going to change because he's here for 8 hours. So that whole idea of Macau imagining that he can dictate, again, he's the same guy who said telling us not to dictate to Obama what he can or cannot say. For him to imagine that he can dictate to Obama who he can or cannot meet, as Kaluma said, by the time he came here, he has an agenda. By the time he came here, he understood that Ruto is the deputy president of this country. How he's going to manage that particular perception issue, and whether he's going to do a photo op with him or not, that's entirely up to him. But he cannot ignore the fact that William Ruto is the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Okay. That cannot be ignored.
Kaluma?
It is a very sad thing that by dint of the position he holds currently, the president of the US will have to interact with the president of Kenya and of course the deputy president, particularly if you consider the value system of the United States and what we put down as our national values and principles, which we don't give a hoot about. You know, something like integrity, something like corruption is so serious, not just in the United States, but the entire West. So serious. I remember I was in London a short while ago, and the mere, giving of impression by a parliamentarian that he would use his influence to leverage business for an individual caused to, in fact, in one day, their positions, and they resigned. You've seen it even in India, which is not, so West. In fact, it's East. A situation where just a train, leaves the railroad, and the Minister for Transport has to resign. Now, Obama is coming into an economy of his father, an economy where half the national budget is eaten by people who are busy tithing in church. And, because of the position he holds, it's a sad thing. Obama will have to greet the deputy president and all these other people. And really, in as much as we want to talk about what he should speak about and what he should not.
And they're innocent until proven guilty.
It's a sad thing to,
it is a hesitation.
To have some of those principles around some of people. Sophie, some issues are so obvious. When a person comes and tells you... If
life was like that, would we be here if everyone came and said some issues are obvious? Shouldn't we have structures that govern?
I sympathize with issues ICC and those are of course for the rule of law.
Yes.
And we wish the deputy president well.
Okay.
But Sophie, I can tell you, when you hear people saying, for instance, we are going to dig a dam in Kuresoi at 34 billion. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're asking what is wrong with our system. I mean, look at what the First Lady is doing today, calling the world's attention to the issue of cervical cancer and other, types and kinds of cancer around. A disease which is killing more than malaria, killing more than HIV/AIDS silently.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing. Remember, as I said here before, the First Lady is running this thing alone, on self-will, on philanthropy, no public policy around health at all.
Our values are stubborn. Our constitutional doctrines are stubborn. They shall be there with us. I want William Ruto and his government to understand that a suspect is just that, a suspect, innocent until proven guilty. They mistreat so many other suspects. We want to treat him with a little more respect, to realize that we have given him the full opportunities of law. And that's why if Obama is clear in his mind that William Ruto has submitted himself to the processes of the ICC. There is no warrant of arrest against him. He attends to sessions of the courts. He excuses himself. So, and we have so many Kenyans who are suspects. And I think it is important in terms of our social responsibility to maintain that sanctity of our constitutional values. So therefore, but I want him to realize, that's why we treat him with a kind of decorum and respect, because it's still a suspect. They go killing suspects. They go, violating suspects.
Who are they?
The state apparatus. It's a well-known fact. It's documented. And the state apparatus is actually managed from that highest level. So I think what happens is when we ascribe to certain values, we must hang on to them. And unfortunate as it might sound, Kaluma, I think if he's the deputy president, until that day, if he was like a Bashir, wanted, evading justice, if he had been now convicted and we are refusing to submit him to the authority of the ICC, those would have been a different ballgame altogether.
Okay. Tomorrow the president set to address the nation on what will be his agenda for the next, for the 3 days of the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. What is it you expect that he should be speaking to Obama about?
Okay. Let me clarify before I answer that.
Yes.
I said about purported father, and they almost swallowed me. Now I want to clarify this. Fatherhood is not sperm donation. Fatherhood is a fact. You give somebody who takes care of you when you are born. Obama is his grandfather's son. As we may have donated sperm and disappeared. That is what I mean. And even fathers outside there, you better know that.
Okay.
You don't get it and disappear.
No,
Now, what I expect the president to address
That's
first,
a bit derogatory.
that's the truth.
It's silly.
First, the president will show how we expect to welcome the big son of Kenya. That he will show that we are warm about it. This is the arrangements we have made. This is what we expect. Then he will also show Kenyans that this is what I would like to place before our brother when he comes as a nation on behalf of the people of Kenya. And it is mainly that, and probably the state of Kenya in terms of security, terrorism, and I know the president will also raise his things about corruption, what is being done to tackle corruption, to tackle insecurity, and to tackle economic issues.
Okay.
So all this will come up so that we are ready when the guest comes.
You
So
know,
if anybody is out
yeah.
of tune,
they
can also chip in the out of tunes.
You notice you also referred to him as a son of Kenya.
Because everybody cling to him. But when, if he failed, if he did not become president, we would have this tensor. Even if he came to Homa Bay, where originally the father was, to contest for MCA, people like Kaluma would have rejected him with rumbus.
All right, let me bring this to you, Ngunjiri, because we had Obama in a White House brief talk about the issues he hopes to address when he gets here: healthcare, education, reducing corruption, counterterrorism, as well as democracy. And we've already had some of our leaders warn him to steer away from certain subjects. So for you, your expectations from Obama and the president in terms of what he'll be saying tomorrow for what they want to talk about?
I think first and foremost it's important for us not to get carried away. Obama is coming here to pursue American interests, period. He will do that which will benefit America. Whatever it is that he's going to bring to the table, whatever it is that he's going to be airing, or whatever agenda is going to be pursuing, is going to be pursued because it supports either an American value system or it supports an American interest. That is very important for us to keep in mind. Even as we get carried away about whether he's a son of Kenya and everything else, it is important for us to remember. And he actually made that point. He said that coming to Kenya as a president is very different from him coming to Kenya as a private citizen.
Yeah.
So that is very, very important. And it should be put in context of the fact that America has just signed a deal with Iran. They're working with Cuba. They work even with people that normally you wouldn't agree with in the world. So for them, they will pursue what is in Americans' interest. What do I expect that they're going to be talking about? Of course, it's an entrepreneurship summit. So the whole idea of innovation, the whole idea of entrepreneurship, and let's not beat ourselves down. We have M-Pesa. It is a kind of innovative product that even Americans couldn't come up with.
Yeah.
Yes. So they're going to be trying to figure that out. But then also, people have forgotten how this GE summit came in and why it actually ended up coming here. It was based on a small meeting that was held between Uhuru and Obama the last time he was in America, or a couple of, I think the last time but one that was in America.
August, yes.
And what happened in that meeting was that he was able to explain away some of the perceptions that Obama had been under, that he was being fed by the civil society and other personalities in the country. So what I expect is going to be happening when he's here, what I expect Uhuru to do is to actually explain to him the status. We're not a perfect nation, not by a long shot, but we're not as bad as he sometimes is told. We are having challenges with security. We need help. The Americans know how to do this a lot better than we do. So I would expect that Uhuru is going to be asking, so what do we do here? Remember, Hassan is talking about how we treat suspects. Americans drone them, for lack of another word. They actually blow them out in another country. They don't take them to court. So I mean, we must be very careful about how we engage with America. I don't think if we did some of the things America does with suspects, we'd get away with it, even with the Americans. So it's going to be a balanced conversation about security. Of course, corruption is going to feature for sure. We have nobody's going to lie. We have a major challenge with corruption here. But then also, the issue we need to be looking at is solutions not to politicize it. What is becoming difficult with corruption in this country is that we politicize it.
Okay.
We ethnicize it.
All right.
So I expect that we're going to be having a conversation about those two as
About
the
the
major
issues.
issues when it
All right.
comes in.
Kaluma,
Yes, I think Obama can be read from his speech in 2006. And by the way, the issues of corruption, the issues of tribalism are issues that were the peak of his speech, if you remember, in 2006 at Taifa Hall at the University of Nairobi. You know, the people of Kenya may not know, and this I think I include even on Senator Hassan Omar. For the last 6 months, we are approving people from one region only to serious cabinet positions in parliament. And really the president has the duty to keep the nation united.
which region?
Cabinet
Central.
positions. Which cabinet
Central,
position?
no,
Which
cabinet. In fact, all top positions, the
Not Eugene
CEOs,
from Western.
the CEOs and others we are talking about for the last 6
So which
months.
one? Substantiate that one. It's
They are all from Central Province.
No,
And
no.
I want-
which positions and
was
which
approved
people?
last week.
I want
He's
to
from
tell
Western.
you, I want to tell you, I don't want to go into those details.
You have done
But
to have brought up
I'm
You
the
have
telling
just
you,
said it. Come
just
in,
start
that is-
from
make a
the
statement
TSC
like that.
commissions, including all commissions, the CEOs we've been appointing. Think about the leadership of the security apparatus in the country. A person is in court currently asking why the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice can have the top 13 people from one county. Top 13. And this is the level of ethnicity, this is the level of exclusion we are talking about in the country. This is the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice. You saw what is happening to EACC, you saw what is happening to the Judicial Service Commission and all, of course, institutions around. Obama has to talk about this because our national values and principles talk about inclusivity, talk about patriotism. All the people of Kenya pay taxes. And if that is a moment that the president can get, of course, to explain to Obama why he's doing this, it would be good for us. That is not to say, as the opposition, we are the people, washing our dirty linen in public. I mean, we are not the ones engaged in tribalism. When we are talking about, the matter of corruption, how much is it costing us? Look, we've been talking about NYS in the recent past. You have around 25 billion to dole out to people, to Kibera, to Nyalenda, to other places, without a formula in terms of where you want to focus.
So those are the issues you want to see addressed.
So we want ethnicity and, of course, inclusivity as an ideal to be at the very sanctum of his speech.
All right.
We want corruption to be dealt with seriously. But most importantly, Obama must remember he's coming into a country where we are questioning why he should be greeting top leaders. What is our democratic system? What is our electoral system talking about? I mean, Issa Kassan is there. It's not being investigated. Like the people they engaged with in Chicken Gate are somewhere in jail in London. These are issues that
All
we
right.
cannot
And
wash
we'll
away.
get to corruption.
And we'll talk about them.
Okay.
You see,
What you hope
if
to
it
see?
is not true that Obama coming to Kenya is a big thing, Amina Mohammed will not constantly be giving us updates of his programs. Manoa Isipisu will not be constantly telling us what his itinerary looks like. Uhuru Kenyatta will not be addressing the nation on his itinerary. So it's not true that it's an insignificant visit. And I have had, in fact, on KTN, panelists that you have invited, economists, people in the various industries in this country, thinking that it's an extremely important vote of faith or vote of confidence for the country. In fact, that's why we say these visits then tends to locate Kenya as possibly a global power, a regional power. US is a global power. So therefore, it gives us that momentum, and therefore we can pick on that momentum of this the Global Entrepreneur Summit. So it's not true that but we must raise some of the issues as fundamentally.
Okay.
We cannot just be asking for money. We must look at the holistic value system, because if Kenyans are better off democratically, then it's almost a direct correlation that these countries that are better off in terms of their governance are also better off economically. It's almost a correlated kind of issue. So it's not true that it is a rich uncle coming to town. There's a rich uncle who brings a certain faith into the system, and he injects a certain confidence into our stratum.
All right, let's go to matters of corruption, of course.
I'd like to interrupt something. Hassan says that countries that are rich in governance are rich in economy. I don't know why he puts China in that particular perspective.
I said usually. I did not say all countries. And China has its governance structures that ascribe to a certain value. If
It's working for them.
It's working for them.
All right.
Yeah, so we should
Yes.
get one that works for us.
Yes, absolutely, but not ethnicity.
Okay, so
You
Raila
always-
announced
you
sometime
always-
last week
yes.
that he had information that there were names edited out of the infamous list of shame, and then he later on announced those two names. He said, according to him, were edited out. Isaac Hassan, who's chair of the IEBC, and CS Waiguru of Devolution. When you had that, you thought what, Ngunjiri?
I laughed, actually. See, I laughed again. And the reason is because, first and foremost, there was this fun. I mean, I actually expected that we were going to have this hidden dossier, you know, of that was, you know, maybe like 5 pages that were plucked out of the report. I mean, the way it was introduced into public, just listening to the opposition leader speak about it, actually thought we were going to have, you know, some really detailed breakdown of stuff. And all he did was tell us about 2 people who he's already been talking about, who he's already very clearly indicated he has a problem with. And to some extent, it's starting to even look like it's a personal problem. It's not even so much a formal complaint anymore. So he has a problem with Anne Waiguru. He's been on record even before he said her name should have been on the list, saying many things about her, and he has a problem with Isaac Hassan. He said many things about him. I actually expected we were going to get a list because that's what he said.
So you see this as
2
well?
names. This is politics.
Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Kaluma,
100%.
EACC is reported to have said after that on Waiguru, on the IFMIS question, which is what Raila was talking about, that investigations were ongoing and not touching on her individually, and on the IEBC, that already there was investigations going on Chicken Gate. That is why his name was not necessarily on the list of shame. So why then talk about edited out?
Are they saying that these investigations take place in a vacuum without people who did them? I mean, if there is a problem with tendering of IFMIS, who was in charge of it? IFMIS was doing itself in our country, or what is Anne Waiguru talking about? Is Isaac Hassan saying the tendering for whatever equipments for which Chicken Gate was being engaged in were doing themselves? What I wanted to tell the country is that I sit in Justice and Legal Affairs Committee of Parliament. And for once, let me make Wambugu informed.
Please.
In fact, the Prime Minister is still being very modest. Remember, under the Constitution, the Commission reports to Parliament and gives the same report to the President. Before the President came up with that purported report, the report I've said is a report of his gossip with the CEO. It's not even a report of the Commission. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission had given us a whole report. And really, if this is required, I can bring it to you here. You see what it is. Institutions were named, individuals were hinted at, are not specifically mentioned. But the report was about the matters which were under investigations, not even included investigations. What did the President do? The President, upon receiving the report, which was also given to us as a committee of Parliament and as a National Assembly, called the Chief Executive Officer, Alake Wako. Actually, the President sidestepped the Commission. And on this, he confirms in his own address to Parliament, if you remember, he says, I spoke with the Chief Executive Officer of the Commission,
Who gave me a
who
confidential
gave me now a list. And what the people of Kenya need to know is that on this list of gossips, of course, the President comes and people sit on different sides of the house, and you saw the standing ovation. We were standing in ovation because we were saying, oh, at last, there appears to be will, some goodwill from this gentleman, our leader, to fight corruption. And we were happy at that. That is until we went and looked at this thing. Do you know what happened when we started the thing? Oh, a parliamentary committee, there has been mention of corruption. All members are to be investigated. Some members of those committees, somebody like Honorable Millie Odhiambo was in Pan-African Parliament. All that period, it was being mentioned, the chair was doing something. Not the entire pack was mentioned, but okay. You had people being mentioned.
So in that list, only those 2 names were edited out?
It's not those 2 names. In fact, the Prime Minister is just picking the most critical ones. But I can tell you, he said within the week there would be a more detailed one. I can tell you, this thing was edited, and until we are serious, I personally would beg, because corruption is costing the country so much. May I beg the President, for the sake of this country, to begin fighting corruption.
And to you, that would mean what? Because
we stop these
you
pretenses.
give him standing ovation, the next day it goes back to this is not happening yet. So to you, what is he
Let him
supposed
stop
to do to show that he's
interfering
fighting?
with institutions that fight corruption. Because you saw a standing innovation, the president reaches State House, and there is a petition in Parliament which supports removing the commissioners.
All right.
You see what is happening to the audit office, and legislations coming from State House itself, coming to Parliament unconstitutionally.
All right.
Let him stop interfering with good governance of this
Weda.
country.
Thank you. He has confirmed that the report they received actually listed all the MPs. I keep on saying they are earning salaries that they got through coercion. The salaries, just listen, the salaries that Sarah Serem did not give you people, you got it by force, and one day you will pay it back. I keep on saying this. One, on Madam Waiguru and IEBC, I know Mheshimiwa Raila Odinga is a fairly focused politician. If you are on his path and he wants to bring you down, he will say it every day, and from the beginning after I lost the 2013 elections, it was the judiciary led by Willie Mutunga and the Supreme Court, IEBC led by ASAC, and now there's the emerging powerhouse called Anne Waiguru. Now these three must be destroyed before the next elections. He has actually hit Mutunga. Judge Mutunga is going to retire without a good name because courtesy Honorable Raila Odinga. I can see IEBC going down, especially Hassan and his team. And unfortunately, the gods also conspired and brought the chicken gate, adding fuel to the fire. Now, unfortunately, Madam Waiguru also went to Kibera and cleaned it and showed that this could be done. Raila received $1 billion shillings in terms of CDF as MP, nothing much. She received something kidogo, something has been done. This lady also has to be destroyed. So every time there's an opportunity, you have to put Waiguru. Okay. Every corner, Waiguru. Every corner, it's okay, we understand, but...
Omar, I'll ask you this. Yeah, as you respond, let me ask you this. What Ngunjiri was saying, isn't that then credence to those who argue that this is just purely politics? Because if in fact there were names edited out, would it be just these two names he'd been talking about before anyway? Why not say all of these other names that are there?
You see what happens is, from the word go onset, we say this is a political process that was intended for a very mid-term, short-term PR process. And it's exactly what that has turned out to be. Look at what is happening within the Jubilee coalition itself. You know, I don't know, people of Nyeri and Muranga say our people are being targeted by those from Kiambu. So you see these kinds of up and you know, these people hitting on one. You know, you say, oh, you know, here you are, you're for sacrificing Kamau. Kamau goes to court and says, you know, IEBC is not, ESCC is not constitutionally constituted and stuff like that. So when you undermine institutions and processes, then the resultant effect is what you get. But in terms of the edits on that report, is fairly obvious. I was here on that fateful day, the weekend after that report was released. I think it's page 20 or page 24, paragraph 20. Where there's a list, there's a column for all those people who are being named in terms of the responsible officers being investigated. On the IBC part, they said officials of the former IIEC, and yet the officials of the former IIEC were very well known. They were the 2 or 3 gentlemen who had been named. So therefore, you know, that's a very lousy attempt towards concealing the facts. And I think when you go also to that very column of infamous, yes, there is an investigation named, but there is no officer. Whereas in similar situations, you named the cabinet secretary, Kosgei, you named Ngilu, you named on account of allegations based on their offices. So I think when you do these things in such a way, in such a manner, you're not dealing with a public that is not critical. It's a public that can be able to evaluate information and data. Secondly, if there's a person who tried at the very onset to destroy the institution of the judiciary, and Raila and the court coalition came in its defense, was us. My brother here had been appointed to a very kangaroo tribunal to try and remove, you know, the commissioners to the Judicial Service Commission. And they thought at that time that they would harp on the vendetta that court purportedly had, to use the word purported, with the judiciary.
Okay.
But court realized the institution of the judiciary is more important. We might not have agreed with the decision of the Supreme Court, but and that's why you have never served on that tribunal, and that's why the court gagged you, and that's why you should. And Raila spoke against that little kangaroo process.
Gunjuri, you had something to say.
First, it's hilarious to listen to court talking about institutions. These are the guys who are trying to destroy the IEBC. They actually want it disbanded and sent home. So when I hear them speak about the need for us to support institutions, to respect institutions, the court leader called judiciary Koti Bandia. He's called let's actually look at the institutions he's dealt with. He's called the judiciary Koti Bandia. He's alleged that the military were used in rigging and the security forces. He had a problem with the head of the public service and the head of national intelligence. He's now going after the IEBC. So when we talk about, actually not even about, he's not going after the IEBC, he's actually going after IEBC as an institution. Why? Because as far as he's concerned, he believed they did not allow him to be president. Now, what we are seeing him doing with IEBC is exactly what he did with the ECK of Kivuito after 2007. We cannot keep destroying institutions.
Okay. All right, let's go back to Mombasa County, because many have said that and argued that the senator, yourself, and the governor have been boys for a long time, working very well in terms of your relationship, but things have gone south. What's going on?
We are still boys, to use that word, because for me, these issues are never personal. They are issues. If you heard what I said last week, if you look at this report, Sophia, I carried it. It will outrage you. This is an audit report after a management letter. This auditor was still not satisfied. If I added up the inquiries on this report, the inquiries amount to 1,150,845,744. And you see, for me, when I fight for accountability, I released reports with some of my best friends when I was in KNCHR. It matters not to me, my relationship with you. It matters whether you have been faithful to the sacred trust that the Kenyan people have given you. From the word go, the report is talking about things done in pursuance of furtherance of material breaches to the law. 10 million shillings, suppliers who should not have been, who are not pre-qualified. You know, I flagged the most heinous amount of 496 million, which was an unbanked revenue. Sophia, can you imagine? You pick 496 million, you do not bank it and use it across. But the auditors, usually when they brief us, they tell us, if 496 was used without being banked and without the necessary approval by the budget office, how much more money probably was not declared? These are how, and you have to realize that there has been a significant decline in most counties in terms of revenues that used to be collected by county, by local authorities.
However, the question is that there are systems in place to be able to check in terms of accountability, and the court gave the Senate the go-ahead to be able to summon governors. So in this case, there are channels for you to raise the issues you're raising. So why go with it to the public?
No, I did go to the public with the specific issues.
You talked about it in the press.
I told
about it now.
Yeah, I'm talking about it now. Because you see, these are public documents. They already inform public discourses. The processes can take root, but nothing stops us also from galvanizing people to demand accountability. That's the work of some of these platforms. And all I said, if you look at my remarks during the iftar dinner, I told the MCAs, this is a bad report. Auditors actually are pointing out to you where to investigate and what actions to take. If we are saying it to Waiguru, then we must say it to Ranguma. We must say it to Joho. We must say it to everybody, so that it appears to us that we are critical and we are objective in this war. So what I said, I told the MCS, take your roles very seriously. Please mitigate this report. Let us see who, and because about 5-6 areas are material breaches of procurement regulations. So you can't even, it's not even a question of explanation. It's who are we going to prosecute.
Okay.
So on account of that, just to conclude, I was urging the MCS to be faithful to their mandate. What happened? The usual ethnicization and politicization, which I sometimes would agree to that extent with Ngunjiri. So you get your psychophants to start saying, you know, the senator is not sincere. You know, you start, you know, the way you escort you to ESCC, not only Joho, but a couple of other people. So we hide behind ethnicity, we hide behind politics.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, but you see what happens is in the war against corruption, you have to soldier on. These are fights I have fought before and conquered, because I know accountability is a very stubborn also agenda. It is tireless. So I think on account of fairness, and let me tell you what Weda and the rest of his team are saying. They are opposing our referendum drive on account of these types of embezzlement. Mombasa has 5 billion. In 1 billion is in questionable expenditure, banked in unauthorized. 217 million has been banked in an unauthorized account and was ultimately not transferred to the county revenue account.
All right.
So, you know, those type of things, Sophia, just to conclude, is something that I think the county assembly needs to seize itself for this matter. And I'm not saying it's Joho, but I'm saying somebody must take responsibility.
Okay. What are your thoughts on this?
You can see the axis of wanton theft, very prevalent among court governors. Nairobi, Mombasa, and the only governor who is working, Alfred Mutua. That one they want to kill. If they got him, they would squeeze life out of him. But the rest, Siaya, Kisumu, Nairobi, wherever, just even washing the linen, the hospital linen, they are just unable to do that. Is this the kind of government you are planning to give Kenyans? Then you come here and you start saying that NYS is a military like Baka Harawis, you people, well, you must keep your house in order. First of all, tell your governors to govern properly, then reduce propaganda kidogo, you calm down. One time I said free tickets, now you can see you are with your governor. You remember last time when we were talking, saying you are good friends, is it for free tickets? Now Mombasa, all this. We are saying, before you go for referendum, before you go do all this, reduce propaganda kidogo, and then do some serious work. Then we can see what you can do at national government.
Well, what that must, just a minute, just what this must tell him is what Uhuru must do. Notwithstanding who is your friend. We are also living an example. And we will be equally hard on court governors. Corruption does not represent the policies of the court coalition. And we shall fight it. And we've taken cue on that fact.
Okay.
That if it is done badly, but it's not only those counties you mentioned, a lot of other counties, there's no worse.
All right.
All those counties on the same pedestal.
You know, corruption to me is such a big thing for our country.
Yes.
And I wanted to caution even our friends here against, you know, personalizing the fight against corruption, against, you know, tribalizing or ethnicizing, as he said, or politicizing it. I mean, it is not a CORD thing or a Jubilee thing. The mere fact that Hassan is able to pick even his county confirms that really we are applying this, you know, everywhere we are. And I think we need to urge the people of Kenya to fight corruption in all levels of government.
Okay.
It is going to the counties. We need to stop it before it reaches the level of the national government.
All right.
But most importantly, you know, mgeni njoo mwenyeji apone. Let the people of Kenya welcome Obama. For us, we'll take the opportunity to tell him what is ailing, you know, the land of his father.
Okay.
On
The land of his what? Donation? What do you call it?
Oh gosh, please don't repeat that word.
my comment on the Mombasa issue is very simple. I would love for Hassan to provide us with a list of the people who need to be fired and investigated by the ESCC. That has been how CORD has done this with everybody else. I don't want us to, you know, just talk about the fact that something has been stolen. Let him give us a list. I would assume that list will start with Governor Joho, his friend, and come down with cabinet secretaries and include members of the county government. That is how that's if we are being consistent. That is what we should be seeing.
But it cannot be for it can't be for us to do it.
Bujiri doesn't understand processes. There's an Auditor General's report, which was tabled.
I don't understand processes.
Which was tabled last week.
Okay.
Which was tabled the week before in the Senate. When it was tabled the week before, an Auditor's General report is like a compass for you to look for the suspects. It guides the ESCC to start an investigations. It guides the CID to start investigations. It guides committees like public accounts. Yes, public accounts committees.
Okay.
Hey, wait.
Parliament.
for people.
Parliament.
Yes. Let me
What
tell
has
you.
Parliament done?
This Parliament.
Legal salaries.
Yes.
Hold on, one at a time.
It guides the county assemblies. That's why my first shot was thrown to the county assemblies. It guides the county assemblies to do justice. That's why I said here, we want to know. They are going to summon people. They are going to go to the facts, the receipts, the processes that were skewed. They will look at who are the responsible signatories, and that is the list that is going to be prosecuted.
Our time
if
is
it
up.
is not done by the county assembly, then it will do it.
We have
Sophia,
2 minutes. I want you
problem.
to comment
Sophia.
on this briefly as you say what you want to say.
Yes.
2 minutes to wrap up.
Yes.
Ngilu as well, facing charges on obstruction of justice. But also Jubilee, we see that there's those who want her sacked and there are those who are defending her, saying that she's been disrespectful to the president, and your party leader as well, the allegations of the Yatta land, and she came out in defense of him, criticized the government and saying she's in government to stay. So comment
She's
on
a
that.
Kamba.
Well, first and
She's
foremost,
what?
She's so gone.
First and foremost, it is important for us to be consistent. Hassan has just explained to us what he expects to see happening in Mombasa due to the allegations he has. I don't hear him saying the same thing for Waiguru. I don't hear him saying the same thing for anybody else. I only hear him saying that for Mombasa. Why aren't we hearing him saying, let us wait for the process to be finished in Ministry of Devolution?
Investigation.
We already know there's an investigation going on. He wants Waiguru to be fired, but he doesn't want somebody to be. So it's important for us to be consistent. If we are going to play politics, let's play politics. If we're going to be consistent, let's be consistent. And I need to finish this. You've asked about Ngilu. I think it is important for us to understand that Ngilu is a very good example of how difficult it is to fight corruption in this country. The minute she went to court, Wiper leader was in court just standing with something that has never been seen before. These are people who fight viciously politically, but there they were. The second thing that is important is the comment that Ngilu made about the Yatta land issue, where she said that the land that has been stolen is in Cumberland anyway. So she doesn't understand why other people are making noise about it, which was really, completely off. It just doesn't make sense. So again, I would like to see consistency. If you're going to go after Waiguru, then you can't see that Ngilu is being prosecuted.
Kaluma, finally on the same.
On Ngilu, let me be straight. The Prime Minister said, treat all thieves equally. Even in the case of Ngilu, investigations had not been done. In fact, EACC submitted a list of people they were commencing investigation, or they were still investigating. And that is why you saw Ngilu being cited for corruption, but being charged with something as mundane as obstruction, which is not even obstruction. What we are saying is that if the president is saying, let my ministers, step aside pending investigations, good for goose, good for gander. It goes for Ngilu, let it go for Anne Waiguru and everybody, so that there is no selective, application of the law and application of principles by the Jubilee administration and people. But I can tell you, Ngilu is so gone, and the faster she knows that the coalition for people of this country is called, the better for her.
So she's coming to court.
Politics.
In less than a minute. Less than a minute.
Politics.
You're closing.
I think there is the trauma of being taken to court, and the passing in between of our brother Kalonzo Musyoka always looks forward to passing through, and then there is the NYS land, so the one Ngilu, and with that trauma, the lady is confused. Otherwise, she's a gracious lady. We are with her family in Jubilee. She will win that case, and she will be back. We are waiting.
Not disrespectful to the president.
That is just trauma.
Sophia,
of.
it's ironic. The person
Less than a minute.
The person who does not even know to spell the word consistency is Mujiri. In fact, even I saw Ahmed Nasser's tweet saying how he's a master of, he is in court today. Court loses the election, he goes to Jubilee tomorrow.
Yes.
That's how consistent he is.
Yes.
You wonder how a human being can do that with so shamelessly or seamlessly. But anyway, that said and done, what we're saying is the war on corruption must be impervious to ethnic persuasions. That's why we even took a bit of issue with our party leader on the basis that we must be objective in the fight against corruption. But one other thing, Ngilu also realizes
You
that
took issue with him going to show solidarity.
He explained to us at that point that he went there as counsel, and that came from his own mouth.
And that doesn't fly with...
But it doesn't fly with a few people, but that said and done.
As a lawyer.
He said he went there as a lawyer. But number two, what happened with the Ngilu issue? What happened with the Ngilu issue? They subjected her to a political fight. And what happens is, the worst mistake Ngilu made was to say that behind the Waitiki deal was the president.
I know.
I need a right of reply. No, Sophia,
needs a lady in there.
Sophia, I need a right of reply.
That's
You
why
see,
they're
he's attacked
fighting
me
for it.
personally
Okay.
on my issue of consistency.
Yes, Director.
He is a Secretary General of a party led by a guy who tabloids call Watermelon, who's flipped, flopped. That's the Secretary General of the party he's a member of. That's the chairman of the party he's a member of. I think it is important. It is important. It is important when we are talking to avoid personalizing issues. The fact that he doesn't like that I left CORD is none of his business.
We are very happy that you left CORD.
You see, but they don't operate.
You know, this guy thought
They don't operate like they are happy that I left CORD.
Okay.
They are quite sad that I left CORD. It's
That's
been
left.
very obvious.
Who is more
Hassan Omar, Senator.
Ahmed Nasser called these guys even Kanu.
Senator Mombasa County, thank you so much for joining us. Ngunjiri Wambogo, who's a political commentator, thank you. Peter Kaluma, he's Homa Bay Town Member of Parliament, and Ambrose Sweta, who's a lawyer. We thank you, and that is the way it is on this Monday, the 20th of July.